You're listening to Wholesaling Inc., episode number 184.
I'm dyslexic, Cody. I barely had a 1.9 GPA to be able to play sports. I am not the smartest guy in the room, by far, but I am a hustler. And I think that if you want something enough, you'll find a way to make it happen. And that's that simple. Wholesaling is a very rewarding thing to do, not only the monetary, but being able to help people get rid of one of their biggest burdens in their lives.
This is game-changing information guaranteed to raise your real estate wholesaling business with actionable steps you can take immediately to navigate the ins and outs of wholesaling and start making money today. Bam! Join us as we put our guests in the hot seat and dive deep to dissect their strategies for success to enable you to duplicate their results. Investor Grit presents Wholesaling Inc., the only show dedicated to making you a fortune in wholesaling with your hosts, Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffheim.
Woo-wee! Welcome to another episode here on Wholesaling Inc. My name is Cody Hoffheim. I'll be hosting today's episode. And today, as you can already see, we've got Mr. Max Maxwell with us today. So now, for those of you that are new to wholesaling and maybe listening to this podcast for the first time, we're going to be deep diving wholesaling and specifically wholesaling real estate. And there might be a few of you listening thinking, what is wholesaling? What on earth is wholesaling real estate? So really, in all reality, just to break down super quick, super simple, so this starts to make sense, it's just the art of finding deeply discounted properties. The deal is always in finding those deeply discounted properties. It's not the money kind of follows. But really what it is if you know how to find deeply discounted properties, you can make great money in real estate. So that's what this podcast is all about. It's all about breaking down how to find those deeply discounted properties that you can then turn for huge profits. And there's so many ways of doing that, whether you fix and flip it, whether you keep them as rentals, whether you just assign the contract to another investor. So we'll deep dive that. But Mr. Max Maxwell, this guy was born in New York, grew up in North Carolina, entered the military at age 17, came back, and he already had the entrepreneurial bug to really get into this and make it work. He got, I want to say, he was building an app, and you said you failed miserably, you lost a lot of money, you were broke, but this guy did not give up, and he wanted to get into real estate. He started learning about wholesaling, and Max, I'm telling you, as you're talking, and we were talking beforehand, me and you have a lot of the same characteristics where it's like you get obsessed with something. All of a sudden you're up at midnight watching YouTube videos, learning more about it. And Max was the same guy. He wanted to learn more and more about wholesaling. So he started listening on YouTube. He was listening to our podcast right here on Wholesaling Inc. And this guy now has been wholesaling for almost 2 years and consistently over the last year, right, did over $1 million. And this year is going to look just as good or even better. And so we're glad to have you, Max, on the show. Kind of fill us in on the gaps, a little bit about who you are and what really got you into this crazy game of wholesaling real estate.
Cody, first of all, thank you for having me on a Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I used to listen to it. I remember being obsessed, like you said in my bio, and just when I found out about wholesaling and the concept, you guys had one of the best put together podcasts. And I literally turned off music, turned off any distractions. And I listened to podcasts, YouTube videos, and I was self-taught. I mean, you pretty much summed up that long bio that you put together. But, 2 years into the game now, we have a team of 8. We're growing daily. We're hiring all the time. We got some new hires coming on, and we're grossing over $1 million every year now, even though it's the second year in the business. And I'm just enjoying it. It literally changed my life. And my saying is, you're only one deal away, literally.
I absolutely love that, by the way. I love when you share that because I actually have seen some of your videos on YouTube. I've obviously seen you on your Facebook page. And I absolutely love that saying, and you say it enough because that's the truth. It's one deal away. Like you're one deal away from changing everything. So I absolutely love that you use that, and it really resonates with a lot of people because it is. Or that next call could be a $20,000 phone call. So it's so good. So let's break this down. You know us. You've been listening to this podcast for a long time. For our listeners here, we are here to cut through all the fat and go right to the meat and potatoes. So let's talk about some of the things that. Here you are 2 years into, almost 2 years, not even 2 years yet, and you're already gaining so much traction. You're self-taught, you go out there, but there's got to be something than just listening to YouTube, than just listening to the podcast. So let's start breaking it down. What is it that's working for you? What are you doing that can help individuals that might be at the beginning stages and maybe assess like Max, like Cody, like all of us were, and they're thinking, what's my first step? If you could think of some of the things that are working, let's start breaking down and helping good old Rhino Nation understand what they can do.
Absolutely. One of the things that I see most people when they find and discover wholesaling and real estate investing is they look at somebody that already has a multi-million-dollar business and they try to model their business. But the reality is most of us, if we could just get one deal a month starting out, that would literally change our entire life. So we look at a very complex picture of wholesaling and we really need to break it down all the way to where it fits into your schedule or your needs or your wants in the business. Now, one deal, 10 grand or 12 grand extra a month, that will literally change people's lives or even completely supplement their entire W-2 income. So a lot of people want to start out with a lot of money. You don't need it. My story going back, I was 30 years old. The app failed miserably. I had to move back into my mother's house. I was living upstairs. And that's not fun at 30, 31 years old to go live back with your mother, but you had to do what you got to do. And my mom was there with open arms and she let me in, but I had to hustle. It was uncomfortable to be there. And I remember I had a Bank of America account. I was overdrafting it and I was putting gas in my car in order to go drive for dollars. And I literally went driving in an old neighborhood that we first moved to in North Carolina in 93. And on the same street I grew up on, I found my first property. And I just started digging from there. From listening to podcasts and YouTube, I figured, listen, I can find the property on my tax assessor website and the person's information there. It turned out it was a probate, which just simply means somebody had passed away with real property and it had to go through the court system. So I had to go down to the courthouse and learn probate. And I got a lot of no's before I got yeses in order to help me out. And that one lady that said yes, and she showed me the probate file. Luckily in North Carolina, the personal of record or the executor's name and phone numbers right on the piece of paper. I picked up the phone and called them. And
this is getting so good, by the way. I love everything about this story. And we're going to break it down even granular than this. Keep going.
I call her and she says, you know what? I'm actually thinking about selling this property because I inherited it from my great aunt. And, we tried to be landlords for a little while to some friends. It's been vacant for almost a year because I can tell the bushes were high and the grass was high. And you know what? I said, what do we take for it? And she said she didn't know. So I came up with some numbers in my head and I offered her about $30,000 or something. And she said, well, let me think about it. My husband's on the road. He works a lot. I'll let you know in the next couple of days. Literally 45 minutes, she calls me back and counter offers at 40. Well, we settled at 32 and saying that I will pay the taxes. I walked away with that deal, $14,000. And that was a game changer.
Bro, now I've got it. We talked about this. I am here in an office that is temporary because my new office is getting built out right now. But I don't even have my victory bell. You're going to have to hear a ding, 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 ding. So $14,000, your first deal. But Max, here's something special about this because each and every listener out there like, man, how do I do this? And do I need to be an expert? And this is a perfect story. Max was no expert in real estate, not an expert in wholesaling. All he was is a person that was driven and willing to take massive, imperfect action and fail his way forward. So I start and think about this. Sometimes we want this perfect picture of how these deals are going to go down. We think about, okay, I'm going to knock on this door and it's going to be this, this, this. He didn't know anything. All he did is drive down a street. He took action because sometimes we start to get analytical. We start to analyze. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, the analytical people are dead in this business. They're not doing the deals. They're the ones still searching YouTube. They're the ones still asking Siri and Google and everyone else out there how this is done. And is there any better way than how to do it? Why Max is out there taking massive, imperfect action, making mistakes. It's Thomas Edison where he says, I did not fail. I just found 10,000 ways that didn't work. He knocked on a door. And sometimes life is that way. We're not going to see the perfect picture of this process, of this deal, but I think life lights up at least the next step in front of us. Maybe we can't see 2 steps ahead of us or 3 steps ahead of us, but life lights up at least 1 step ahead of us. He went out, he found a neighborhood. There's his 1 step. From there, he's like, oh man, what do I do? He saw a ran down house. So he goes over there. The next step was lit up. He knocks on the door, doesn't turn anything. He goes to the county assessor, finds out the name of it. And then from there, does he know anything? No. He calls this person or gets in contact with this person. It's going through probate. Now he's like, what the crap is probate? I don't even know what probate is. He wasn't an expert. He's not a probate attorney, But now he just figured it out. Okay, well, this home's in probate, so what do I need to do? Goes down to the courthouse, does his thing, finds out that it needs to go through court because someone passed away, and he finds out all this stuff, and he needs to talk to the executor of the trust. He didn't even probably know these words as he's going into this. He wasn't an expert. This stuff is such liquid gold for each one of you. You do not need to be experts, and you do not need a perfect plan. They don't exist. Max will attest to this. It does not exist. What does exist is massive imperfect action and going out there and making mistakes and failing your way forward. Brother, keep going.
You're absolutely right, Cody. I mean, I didn't even know what the word probate meant prior to finding out, because in our county, it said the deceased person's name and then estate. And then just after doing some research, I found that meant that the property was in a probate estate. You know, just one thing led to another. Like you said, only a half of a step is lit up before me, and I was making the courage. And next time you make that step, it's another one and another one. And it was funny. I got the property. I remember I met her at a Waffle House about 40 minutes away, because she lived about an hour or so away. I met her at a Waffle House. She signed the contract. I didn't even get it notarized or anything. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I go back home.
By the way, still, he's not an expert, guys. I love this.
I don't know what I'm doing. I go back home. I grab the lawnmower out of my mother's garage, and I start cutting the grass, because I was like, this thing has got to look a little bit better before I take a picture of it. I literally cut the grass, edge the bushes, and I take a picture and I put it on Facebook Marketplace. I said, investment property available. And not before I finished picking up the sticks, 2 cars pull up. And they walked through the house, and one said, oh, it was too much work. And then I get a call from a lady who says, hey, my husband flips houses, but he's out of town right now. Can he come see the house on Saturday when he gets back? I said, sure. Get a call. He goes out there. He calls me. At this point, the back door is open. I didn't really know to use a lockbox. The back door is unlocked. He goes in there. He says, hey, I really like the house. Can I have my wife come read tomorrow? I said, sure. He comes out and he says, look, make me an offer. We negotiate. I sell it at 54 or 56. I can't remember, but I made 14 grand. And that was it. That was my first deal. And now I knew the process. I asked one of my friends that was an attorney. I said, hey, do you have a closing attorney? He says, yeah, use this guy. I call him. He says, yeah, I know how to do assignments. I've been in the business for 20 years. And it just kind of just happened. And right after that, I found my next deal on Craigslist and made 7 grand, all within a 3-week span. $21,000, and that was it. I've never made less.
First thing you did, you're like, Mom, I'm no longer in your basement, baby. I'm done.
I was in the attic. I was upstairs.
By the way, what is the coincidence that you're not in your home office and there is a rhino in the background? I'm telling you, this is awesome. And I was about to introduce you as James Harden.
I get that every day. I wish I had some James Harden
autographs every day. James, bro.
At least I don't get the autographs, but at least once a day somebody's like, man, I thought you were James Harden. So yeah, literally. But yeah, I'm actually in Baltimore, so I'm not at home right now. But it changed my life. And from that month, I never made less than $21,000 wholesaling real estate. And it just took off. And here we are 2 years now. And I remember by, I think, April this year, we already did over $500,000 in wholesale. And
that's phenomenal.
It's just amazing.
Brother.
It's amazing.
Is absolutely phenomenal. So you're on track to do, again, probably now over $1 million. You're on pace to do 1.3, 1.5, which is phenomenal.
Correct.
That's going to be great. Tell us some of the things that hindsight sometimes is 20/20. You're able to really realize when you look back, maybe some of the things you shouldn't have done or some of the things that you make sure that you would have done again. What are some of those things for people just getting involved? They're like, man, I don't even know what to do. My head's spinning. I work for corporate America. I'm so scared. I've got the golden handcuffs of benefits and insurance. I could never leave that. There's no way. How do they even begin to start grasping the concept that they too could be just like Max, someone that's not an expert, and go out and make $14,000 to $7,000. And now here we are running a full wholesaling operation, doing over $1 million gross in the year. That's impressive.
Cody, more powerful than just the money, I think it's learning that you really want to solve people problems. And I think that's what really changed my mindset, is that obviously we're not in the real estate business. We're not in, it's completely not. I feel like we're in the people solving business, people solving problems business. And literally this lady had a piece of property that was vacant for almost a year, and she had no idea what to do with it. She owed back taxes. And eventually those properties go back to the city. They're non-income producing for the city. So we're solving so many problems. The person that owns the property, the city that's not collecting taxes on it. I mean, it was behind on taxes for over, I think, $12,000 or $13,000. That's a lot of revenue that the city is missing. So we solved that problem. We solved her problem. We solved a rehabber problem. And then we also improved the neighborhood by getting that property up to standard. So there's a win-win-win for a lot of people. And I just happen to make 14 grand doing it. So if you want to feel the gratitude of fixing somebody's problem, then wholesaling is right there. And I'm telling you, I'm dyslexic, Cody. I barely had a 1.9 GPA to be able to play sports. I am not the smartest guy in the room by far, but I am a hustler. And I think that if you want something enough, you'll find a way to make it happen. And that's that simple. Wholesaling is a very rewarding thing to do, not only the monetary, but to being able to help people get rid of one of their biggest burdens in their life. So if you're into that and you want to do it, this is definitely the path you should take.
Max, I love those words. And that's so many times where we probably get hung up with or caught with. Multiple times when I'll just be talking on just like the small group coach calls that I do. Mm-hmm. Some of the questions that are continuously repeated, and this is worthy of bringing on because it's so true what you just said, and we have to capitalize on this. So get out a pen and paper and write this stuff down that Max just said. And I'm going to reiterate everything he just said because it's so true. We're not in the real estate business. And so many times when I get on these phone calls, the students will ask, oh man, it wasn't a deal. And I says, why was it not a deal? And they said, well, they want full retail. And I said, okay, but did you ask why are they selling the home? Why are they calling on this dumb 35-cent postcard? Why are they calling you when everyone knows 50 realtors? I said, why are they calling you? She's all, well, I don't know. I just never got to that point because they wanted full retail. And I'm like, brother, we're missing the boat. We're talking about real estate and we're not in the real estate game. I just want to know simply why people are selling their home and if I can be a solution to solve any kind of problem that they might be in. Maybe they're behind on taxes. Maybe they're going through divorce. Maybe they are, someone died in the family and it's going through probate. Maybe they inherited mom and dad's home and they don't want to fix it up and they don't want to put it on the market. There's so many reasons. Maybe they have to quickly move because they got a job. Those are what we're there for. So what I'd really caution everyone to say is don't spend time about the house. It's not about the real estate. And I don't care how much money they want for their home. I just want to know simply, why are you selling their home? And this is the key thing, because once we know why they're selling their home, it could be that they're not motivated. It could be that there's no problems in their lives and they still want full retail. That's a different story. But we're here to solve problems. And just like Max just said, if you really want to be there to bless people's lives, we're not going to always be the option for everyone. And that's okay. We still serve those individuals and help them find what is the best solution. And if you're willing to stay with those individuals and still help them find their best solution, I'm telling you, that law of attraction for good deals start coming your way because you're just out there serving individuals, loving individuals, showing your charity towards individuals. And as you do that, man, solving a lot of problems can pay you really, really well. And that goes in line with, and you probably read the book with, because you're going to be talking with Brent Daniels today, but The Go-Giver, that's like his number one favorite book. He reads it weekly, but it just talks about your value to the marketplace is how well you serve individuals, and how you get paid is directly proportionate to how well you serve. So That's something to think about.
No, some of the things that's worked for me, I really didn't start with a lot of money. So cold calling was huge in my business prior to it being such a big talked about thing now these days. But it was just easier for me to talk to people and say, hey, do you want to sell your home? And then I get the instant answer, yes or no. But like you said, find out if there's a problem. And a lot of times we're not the option for them, but we can educate them on the options they have available. And more times they'll come back to you as a trusted source and probably give you the deal anyways.
Or how many times, I don't know if this happened. This is one that was, I still remember like it's yesterday. We had a guy, Scott. And Scott, we went out to his house. He says, man, you guys are great. This would be easy. It's going to be cash. But it was his girlfriend's house. And Scott really didn't have a say on this one. So his girlfriend's like, no, I think I'm going to list with the realtor. I said, you know what? I think that's perfectly fine. Go list it with a realtor, see what happens. You know what? I'm always here. So if something doesn't work out the way it does, call me back. Well, they ended up selling it through the realtor. But I get a phone call like 3 weeks later from this gentleman. He says, hey, Scott referred you over to me. He says, you guys are awesome people. You're quick. You can buy cash. He didn't even use us. Scott didn't even use us. But yet he loved the service so much that he referred me to his friend. and his friend. It was literally like, normally you could probably attest to this. You go on an appointment and you want to establish rapport. So these appointments can be 1 hour, 2 hours long before you even talk about the deal. And I went in there and it was I called my business partner. I said, hey, I'm going to an appointment right now. I'll call you in about an hour. And I go in there and 10 minutes later, I walk out with a contract and I call my business partner and said, well, it wasn't an hour, 10 minutes, but I got a contract and we're going to buy this house right here in Clearfield. And he's like, 10 minutes? I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, we got to figure out how to get more referrals. Because I walked in like, yeah, they said you want cash. So what are we looking? Well, it would be about this. Perfect. Sounds good. And I walked out. I'm like, amazing. All right.
Amazing.
So
yeah.
Now it's how do we capitalize on those referrals?
Yeah, I love referrals. Referrals are definitely a way of, because when you satisfy one person, whether you buy their house or not, word of mouth is still the best marketing ever, period. Point blank.
I agree. So here you are 2 years later, you're doing a great job. You're crushing it in the wholesaling business. And you've got quite the following. You've got people that are following you on YouTube. I love your presence on YouTube. You've got a great Facebook page where people can come in and ask questions, collaborate, and just share what they're talking about in wholesaling. What got you into, how were you able to build such a great following around wholesaling?
So I never intended to make that happen, or it was never my idea, right? Nobody thinks about, I started my YouTube 9 months ago in December or something like that. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm not starting this to become a YouTuber. I thought maybe if 20 people watched, it'd be great. It was literally to keep myself accountable. It was the point where I was in my business where I was consistently making $30,000 plus a month. And I said, I need to scale because $30,000 is a great amount of money to make as a one-man show. But if I scale, I can help more people. I can make my table longer. And it's just gonna multiply. And I said, I got to hold myself accountable. So let me start doing videos of what I'm doing on a weekly basis. And man, it just blew up. There's no formula, I don't think. And it's just consistency. And I'm allowing people that heard about wholesaling to actually see what it looks like when you lift the hood up. And, I take some people on some appointments and stuff like that. And it's awesome.
Such a go-giver, and you're always looking for someone to help out and build up in the same thing. So this is what yet I love about you is the fact that you get to the point where you're doing well. It's been a blessing in your life, and now you're looking for ways to bless other people's lives and get into it. Because there's so many people that think there is just that one way of working 9 to 5 with corporate America, or working in that dead-end job, or the one that has the cap on the ceiling. You're never going to get paid more. And I just love the fact that you're willing to share with people like you do so abundantly, not even getting paid for it. You're just here to help bless other people's lives and let them know there is other ways if you choose to do it.
Absolutely. And I enjoy it. Now I got a full-time videographer that follows me around, and we put out 3 or 4 videos a week, and I enjoy it. It keeps me accountable. And now I get to, I was in Baltimore, I did a pop-up meetup, and we're able to talk real estate with 50 people. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. So you know how we always end all of our podcasts. There's 2 big questions that we always ask. If you were to share a book that would be like your inspirational, something that's helped change you, maybe made you a better person, what book would you recommend to our listeners that are sitting here thinking, man, Max has got his head on his shoulders. What is it that he's reading that would help me out?
As much as I hear the end of the podcast and I hear this question, I'm going to go with an answer that a lot of people say. It changed my life, and reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the book that made me say, I don't know nothing about anything. And it really opened my eyes, and it made me say that, okay, there's a different way to look at the way I've been looking at things.
I love that. Robert Kiyosaki is probably one of the biggest genius out there when it comes to real estate. When it comes to real estate, he's the godfather. It's like everyone knows who Robert Kiyosaki is and what Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the book is. So great book. What about a gold nugget tip trick where if you're looking back, the one thing I'd say, hey, it's this one thing. If you will do this, it's going to help produce results. What would that be?
I would say get comfortable with speaking to people every day about what you do, and speak on the phone with people. And the more you get comfortable with that, it's a very, very scalable way to grow your business, is to get on the phones and then hire people to get on the phones and multiply it. Cold calling is such a powerful tool. And if you do it right, it can work very fast.
I love it. I love it. So Max, tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you, how they can follow you, learn more about you. What are some of the ways they can do that?
I'm all over the internet, man. I love social media. I'm very active on Instagram. You get to kind of follow me around. My Instagram name is The Real Maxwell. My YouTube name is Max Maxwell. You can search that and find me there. Those are the two places I love to hang out at. My website is currently being revamped, but that's therealmaxwell.com. And those are the three places you can find me. But I'm really, really active on Instagram, and you find that and you'll see me everywhere. So make sure you find me on Instagram at @TheRealMaxwell.
I love that. Now, guys, as an announcement that I want to wait till the end, if this is something that you've loved and you loved hearing this podcast, let me tell you a treat that's going to happen here in the near future. October 15th, 16th, and 17th, we have The Real Maxwell coming to speak at Asheville, North Carolina, to come speak at our live event where we have 300 seats. That's it. It's not a ton of seats that sells out every single year because we bring guests just like Max Maxwell and the best in the industry that are going to be up on that stage sharing their wealth of knowledge, what's working, what's not working, how to become a better wholesaler. All of the real deal Holyfields are going to be up on that stage dropping value. So again, if that's something that you're ready to hear more of Max Maxwell, you can do so at his YouTube channel. You can follow him on Instagram, but he will be live with us, me and Tom, on the stage in Asheville, North Carolina, 15th, 16th, and 17th of October. And you can go find and reserve your seats now. A limited number left. It is at WholesalingSummit2018.com. That's WholesalingSummit2018.com. Book your seats and come meet Max live and the rest of us and here at the Tribe. And we can't wait to see you guys there. Max, any last words?
I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a stage full of actual people that are gurus, right? Because
gurus, I love that, man.
None of us are, I didn't create that. Nazareth created that word. He's out of Charlotte, and at least that's where I learned it from. He's a guru, and going to a lot of these conferences and things like these, there's a lot of rah speakers, paid high speakers to get you motivated. That's not what this is about. It's about you listening to people that actually do this business every day and are successful at it. And that's the difference between you walking out there motivated and walking out there with instructions on how to be successful.
I love it. And there's such a huge difference. So each of you listening today, as you listen to this episode over and over again, the value is not being inspired thinking, oh man, how cool is this? Max did this, Cody did this. The real inspiration behind this is to grab value from this podcast episode. Grab one nugget. That's all you need. One gold nugget from this episode and act upon it. There's something out there that you may not be doing. And there's so much value given in this podcast episode where if you'll just implement on one gold nugget, you'll start to see results come your way. And really, that is the secret sauce. It's taking action. It's not waiting for a perfect plan. It doesn't exist. Max, my friend, I want to thank you so much. You added so much value to this podcast episode. And I cannot wait to meet you in person in Asheville. It's going to be a great time. And thank you again for your day.
Cody, thank you so much. And I'll see you very soon.
Okay, brother. God bless. Take care.
That's all for this episode. Your next step to success is to continue the conversation over at investorgrit.com by joining the mailing list, as well as get your chance to book a strategy session to learn the systems and become part of the tribe with your hosts, Tom Kroll and Cody Hoffheim. We'll see you next episode with more ways to make you a fortune in wholesaling.